We will move on here. My name is George Mount. I'm a Microsoft Excel MVP, data analytics author, trainer, and consultant. And I do a lot of these sessions for different reasons. It's a good way to get back to the community. It's good practice for me as a trainer to keep my skills sharp and to answer questions, see what people are looking to learn, and so forth. So I hope we can make this as win-win as possible. The way this works is this is being recorded. I will email you a link to that recording. If you try to go through Teams, you won't be able to access it. Also, you might notice your camera and your microphone are shut off just for safekeeping, but you are welcome to use the chat to ask any questions. We're scheduled to go for about an hour. It's definitely not going to be any more than that. It might be a little less. And our goal today is to talk about ChatGPT and give you some pointers to get started. Obviously, this is a game-changing tool. It changes all the time as well. So I will try to give you some principles that I hope will serve you well. Can't get, of course, into every use case, and we are going to be using the free version of ChatGPT, which brings about some pros and cons. So we'll keep going here. Our objectives, A, get our data in a good shape, okay? So just because we have AI doesn't mean that we don't want to put garbage in, right? Or we do want to put garbage in. Okay, let me see what's going on here. Okay, we want to use our AI tools ethically, so we're going to look at how to, when we're using the free versions of ChatGPT, how we can do that safely. Using ChatGPT to do things like help us with formulas, help us with visuals, help us think through problems. So that's a lot to get through in an hour. We'll see how it goes, but I think it's achievable. And if you do have any questions, you are, of course, welcome to ask via the chat. And this is all being recorded as well if you wish to look at it again, share with colleagues, and so forth. Without further ado, let me send out the downloads. Okay, of course, downloads are going to be right here. And those of you, looks like a lot of familiar names. Those of you who have been here before know that people tend to file in and out and ask for those downloads again. So if you do see that before I get to it, you're welcome to copy and paste that again. But the basic drill here, if you've not done this before, you should just be able to click the link and download. Okay, it should come out to your downloads folder. And from there, what you'll want to do, the important part is to extract your folder. Make sure you do that. Otherwise, you might have some problems with that data. So just make sure up here, assuming again you're on a PC, if you're on a Mac, I'll do my best. I'm not great with Mac. Okay, so yeah, just extract it. Okay, and you'll see this first steps folder extracted. It's ready to go. We've got a workbook. We've got a solution file. We've also got an agenda. These are some downloads and some blog posts that I've written on the topics that will kind of guide our demos today. So I have downloaded course demos. Okay, if you can just give me a thumbs up there. And give everybody a minute to do that. Okay, thumbs up there. Did I miss it? Everybody good? Any questions? Okay. All right. I'm gonna assume that that's a yes. No news is good news. So we'll go ahead and get into the including a PowerPoint. Okay. Yeah, I figured this is an Excel workshop, so I would assume people have the PowerPoint. I know having a PDF is nice too, but yeah, just keep it simple here. Okay, This is the file that we're going to work through together. And then the solutions are available over here. Okay, it looks like the name is a little different. It's the one that says ChatGPT Excel Start. Okay, so open that one. Okay, start.xlsx. All right, so let me go ahead and open this up. And we will start on the reshape worksheet if we could. I think it opened to another one. Yeah, go to this reshape worksheet if you could. All right, so we're not in ChatGPT yet. All right, we are using the free version of ChatGPT. Okay, which means that we don't have the option to copy or to upload our files directly and to work with them directly. We don't have the option like with Copilot. If you have Copilot, what you would do is just launch Copilot and start asking questions of the data. So we need to be a little more wily in what we do here with our data. All right. So first thing we're going to do, and this is regardless of if you're using a paid version or a free version, or if you're uploading your data, or if you're copy pasting your data, it really doesn't matter. You want to make sure that your data is in a machine readable format. Okay. So for the sake of this off ramp, what I'm going to do here, this is a tool inside of Excel. It's not ChatGPT, but it does similar things. So we're going to start here. Let me click here right on Analyze Data. So you have the sales data. Looks pretty routine. I don't see anything weird about it. Okay, I'm going to click on this data, and I'm going to come in here and click on Analyze Data. I might take a second. It always takes a little longer, I feel like, when I'm sharing my screen and recording. So we'll just give this a moment to boot up here. And again, most of you should see this. This has made its way into most versions of Excel at this point. It does not require an extra license like Copilot. If this takes any longer, I might restart my workbook here. We'll see. Because what we're going to do is ask some basic questions about this data. And honestly, this could serve as a good sanity check before you go into ChatGPT. Okay, I'm going to close this and open it again and hope that Analyze Data cooperates that time. All right, let's go back there. Okay, let's go back here. Okay, we'll open it. Okay, reshape. All right, let's go back here and hope we get better luck. Okay, that looks better. Yeah, so just a simple restart. Fair enough. Okay, so this says ask a question about your data. It means it literally. Now, when we get into ChatGPT, you do have the option to iterate on your prompts, right? And build on them. And there's whole schools of thought about whether it's better to give one big prompt versus to chain prompts. We'll get maybe into that later, but the first thing we're going to do is just ask some basic questions here, right? So, what was the total sales for Frozen or something like that? We can ask that. Excel will give us its data back in a pivot table, and it's right inside the worksheet, which is nice, so we don't have to copy and paste so much. Okay. The issue comes in here if we were to ask something like, what are total sales by region? Okay, so I'm going to ask that. Seems like a valid question. Excel is going to get confused. And this is pretty universal if you're using Copilot or ChatGPT or anything. Putting your data in a format that makes sense to the machine, a so-called machine readable format, matters a lot here. So in this case, if I insert this data into the pivot table, Excel is taking a sum of region, not what we want here. Okay, so we could have copied and pasted this. I mean, I'll go ahead and copy and paste this into ChatGPT right now. I've not done this before. At least I haven't done it in a while, so we'll see what it does. But my guess is that we're going to get an issue here. Let me open up ChatGPT. Okay, it's just taking a minute here. Got kind of a lot of stuff going on with my PC. Okay, and I am on the free version. If you're on the paid version, you're welcome to stay logged in. Just know that your experience will be a little different. So what is total sales by region in this data set? Let's see what happens here. I'm just going to paste it in. There are some other options here. We'll see how this works. Okay, let's see what we get. Okay, so this is smart enough to show you, right? It's going to take the sum of values for all of these columns. Okay, if you think about it, your AI tool of choice may or may not be smart enough to know. And it even looks like this is kind of timing out, right? I'm not even seeing, we're just having a lot of data here, and it's not in a particularly easy shape to analyze because to an AI tool, these are apples and oranges. We have, fresh sales versus grocery sales. It's not super clear that these are all data sets, data points to calculate together. Okay, so what I would suggest you do is before you worry about AI at all, honestly, learn Power Query. Okay, so that's one of the first steps here. And that's a tool that's not in ChatGPT, it's in Excel. So it might feel like a little bit of a detour to know that if you're going to work with ChatGPT, you should learn a little bit of Power Query first. We are going to fix this data up in a shape that should work much better for ChatGPT or analyze data or any other tool as it happens to do that. So what we're going to do is come back to this data set. We're going to head to data, okay, and we're going to head to from table / range. My data is in a table. Another good idea here, okay, to get used to working with your data in a table, whether you're working with ChatGPT or Copilot, whatever tool, if you instruct the tool to work with tables, to act as your data, act as if your data is in a table, you're going to get more consistent results here. So I'm going to come from table / range. And this is going to open a Power Query. I've got plenty of sessions on Power Query. I'm sure I'll have more coming up. You can read my book. Got plenty of resources on this, but just to do this quickly, this is a data cleaning tool in Excel. So your task as a data janitor and a data cleaner isn't going to go away with AI. Okay. Sometimes the AI is going to be smart enough to kind of clean itself and prepare the data and then analyze it. Sometimes you're going to need to put a little bit of assistance and you want to be that human in the loop, as they say. Okay, so that's what we're going to do right here. We want to unnest or unpivot these columns. And this is one of the suggestions that even Microsoft says. If you're going to use Copilot, you want to use unnested data. And I would say the same goes for ChatGPT because they're all kind of in the same family. Okay, similar models. Okay, so what I'm going to do is hold down Control. We'll select region. Okay, and I'm going to unpivot those other columns. I'm going to click on that. All right. And now you're going to see that this is unnested. So this is very clear that these are all oranges, right? They're all sales. They're not apples and oranges. We should sum sales from deli and sales from fresh. These are all just sales. So I'm going to double click on this. I'm going to make that sales. I'm going to double click on that. And let's make this something like department. Okay, hit enter. Once you're done, double click on that. Let me see how everybody's doing in the chat. Don't see any questions right now. Okay, so this configuration is going to work a lot easier in ChatGPT or Copilot or whatever you want to use. Let's close and load this back into our worksheet. Okay, and again, if this is a little fast, if you've never seen Power Query before, you can check the recording. You can check other workshops that I've got. Click OK. And now, give it a second here. Okay. And we'll come back here. We're in this data set. Make sure you're clicked in here. Let's come back to analyze data. You might need to start it again. Sometimes it gets a little confused about what data set you want to be analyzing. So just come back up here to the top, analyze data, and what are sales by region. Okay. All right. And now we get a pivot chart. Fair enough. I can insert that and we get the sales right there. So again, not ChatGPT, similar principles, a little more primitive, but in a lot of cases, this is actually going to be easier. If all you want is just quick tips like make a quick visualization, sum up these numbers, slice and dice the data. This is a really good tool inside of Excel. Okay, so be aware of that. And this is also a good kind of sanity check. If you're not getting good results inside of analyzed data, you're probably not going to get very good results inside of ChatGPT. So let's come back there and take a look at what was happening it seems like it was kind of timing out with the question we had before. Okay, because it did need to break it into steps, if you remember. Okay, so it didn't seem to like that. I'm gonna let's just make a new session here. Okay, what are total sales by region? And I'll copy and paste this in, and we'll see if we get any better. Okay, I don't need the screenshot, so I'll just remove that. Okay, it is too long. So this is where we get into other issues, and this is actually a good segue for what we're going to do next. Any questions with the first step? Just getting our data in the right format before we even think about using ChatGPT. Good to have some basic familiarity of Power Query, because that's really the tool that will let you get your data into a machine readable format to work better with ChatGPT. Any questions there? Sorry, my screen's a little berserk right now. We'll get back to that shortly here. Okay, let me check the chat. Okay, no questions. Assuming everything's okay out there. All right. Okay, so we are copying and pasting data in here. We're not uploading a file. It looks like maybe, can you attach a file? No. Yeah, you gotta pay for that. I thought that was still the case. Okay, this is also sensitive data, so it's not a great idea to be copying and pasting your sensitive data sets without any kind of security plan in place. You can still get a lot of help for this, okay? But you need to be a little wily about it. So what I would suggest you do is create fake data sets with ChatGPT that you can use with ChatGPT. So that way you're not exposing any sensitive data into an unapproved, unauthorized system. Okay, so how can we do that? The easiest way to do this is to ask for something. We're in here, can you create an Excel workbook of 100 fake customer names and US shipping addresses? And I'll put this in the chat to save everybody some time. Okay, so it's going to give us a little caveat there. It's going to say, I can't create files directly, so it can't give us an Excel workbook. If you paid for a license of ChatGPT or Copilot, it could maybe actually give you a file that you could download. Okay, it stops at like 10 or 20 or something. This is not 100. If you'd like a larger list, but this is really kind of time and task intensive to actually print all this data inside the prompt output. I'm going to say yes, give me 100. Okay, and try to push it a little bit further. So again, our goal here is trying to create fake data that we can use safely with a free version here. This could still be useful. Let's say that you're trying to set up a report or a model and you're waiting on data from someone, and you still want to try to get the scaffolding set up for your model. This is still really useful if you're trying to test your model against new data. Still really useful to be able to know how to create fake data. And this might get to 100 or may not time out, but even if it doesn't, it's kind of slow. I'm getting a little impatient here. So what I would suggest you do here is when you're trying to create any kind of a model, you're simulating data, you're doing anything, you're asking for tasks, maybe you want help, how would I, write a script to send out emails or something like that. You want to talk to the AI in its own language, right? It's just like anywhere else. If you talk to somebody in their own language, you tend to get better results. So you want to use AI's lingo. And what is AI's lingo? It's code, right? It's an algorithm. It's a bot. So what I would suggest you do in this case is rather than sit here and wait, this is very tedious. I might just hit the stop button here and let's just stop this because I'm getting frustrated. Let's say generate a Python script to create an Excel workbook of 100 fake customer names and US shipping addresses. So again, this is kind of the magic word here. I'm going to say generate a Python script. Now we're almost saying it's okay, talk freely in your language, right? You don't have to translate everything into human talk. Just use computer talk. That's fine with me. So let's run that. Okay, and we should see here, this is going to be super fast. It's going to give us a little bit of explanation. Yes, you do need to know some Python for this. So again, I'm hoping you're seeing that, just knowing AI for Excel is kind of the last mile. There's all this other stuff that is important to know before you even get to AI. Just, if you've never opened up an Excel workbook before, AI is not the place to start. If you've used Excel for a while now and you've dabbled in Python and you've dabbled in Power Query and you've dabbled in dynamic array functions and things like that, that's when you really get the value from AI. Okay. So in this case, we're getting a script here. And again, yes, you do need to know how to run the script. You could ask for help here. If you're on a paid license of ChatGPT, it would be able to run this script for you. Okay. But what we're seeing here is that was a lot faster, and we do have a script that we can use and reuse, because you probably also have the problem with AI that every time you ask it for something, it gives you something back. So one nice thing about kind of translating your tasks into code is that you're a little more certain that you're going to get the same outputs each time. Okay, so we can make this even more complex. If I wanted to ask for something, really specific, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna put this in the prompt box, and I'll put this in the chat as well. This is where things get interesting if you wanted to set up a data set for your own internal like modeling or analysis purposes. Okay, so I'm getting a little more specific here. I'm saying, here are the columns that I want. I'm getting into statistical distributions. This may or may not be something relevant to you, but again, the more realistic you describe your data set, the more similar the results are going to be for your actual data set that you don't want to copy and paste into uh, ChatGPT. So I'm going to run this, and I will put this in the chat here. Okay. And here we go. Okay. Can you create? Okay, yes, that was me. Okay, never mind. Okay, so I put this in the chat. All right, this is going to take a while. We're going to get a script here, and again, we could run that, and we have that. We can use it again. The random seeds, these are something to be aware of, that what this will do for you is, if you've ever used ran between in Excel and you've hit F9, you know how frustrating it can be. The numbers keep calculating and they keep calculating, and maybe you don't want them to keep calculating, but you still want a random number. That's basically what this does. It kind of kills the F9 key so that each time you run this, you'll get the same results. They're random, but they're the same random. So that's what random seeds are. Okay. So again, really useful if you need to create synthetic data, whether for your own purposes or just to abide by any security policies that you might have that would preclude you from wanting to upload sensitive data to a free version like this. So just another workaround there. Okay. Any questions about what we've done so far? I'll show you a couple more things. And we are recording, so if you want to see something again, you are welcome to use that. Okay, let me just kind of get set up here for the next demo here. Okay. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is maybe something that people don't necessarily think about ChatGPT being useful for. I think when most people think of AI and ChatGPT, they think of really like, grassroots, kind of get your feet wet with formulas and functions, and you think of it as more of a tactical kind of a tool. But AI can really also be a good strategic tool as well. And I think as analysts, sometimes it's hard to think clearly about what is our goal even in the first place. Somebody might entrust us with a really vague task, and we get so caught up in what formula am I going to use, what data do I need to use, how am I going to actually do XYZ in Excel, that we don't really even think about, is XYZ the right thing to do. So AI is also really good at helping us think through the wider task as an analyst. And this is really what kind of separates us from good to great, is that just building something is one thing, but knowing that it's the right thing to build is another here. So what I found works really well for this is, again, AI and ChatGPT really like frameworks, They like templates, things like that. Okay. We as humans like those things too. There's a reason that things like SWOT analysis exist, and the 5 whys and things like that. So as corny as they are, and as MBA as they seem, it works really well here to help you out. So what we're going to do, for example, is help us set up something like a SMART goal. If you're not familiar with a SMART goal, let me put this link to my blog post here in the chat. And okay, and the other nice thing about using ChatGPT for these more like high level thinking tasks is you're not exposing necessarily any sensitive data. Okay, so if I were to ask something like this, I'm a data analyst at a company, they're study traffic, not of conversions. Okay, well, who isn't that the case for, right? You're not really exposing anything too sensitive here. This could be anybody. There could be a way, I guess, that you would expose some kind of unique sensitive situation, but this seems high level enough for me. I'm not too concerned. My company wants to improve online sales numbers. Okay, join the club, right? What are some questions I should ask my business partners to convert this into a Sparkle? So what's really nice for this is it helps you kind of push back as the analyst. Sometimes you get these questions and they're so vague, and you just kind of agree to them and you don't really think about how you're going to do it. And then you get so worried about the technicalities that you kind of lose the big picture thinking. This can really help you keep that big picture thinking uh, at a high level, right? So what do we want to achieve? A SMART goal, if you don't know, it's an acronym: SMART, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound. And of course, the nice thing with AI is that you can get help with your AI prompts with AI. So if I wanted to ask, what is a SMART goal, you could do so. These are specific questions that you can ask. So it's easy to just not think about stuff like this when you are working through a problem. This is a really good way. And again, none of this is super sensitive. And often this is much more relevant application than if you were to just look online. You might find like a nice PDF about SMART goals, but it doesn't necessarily tell you how would this apply to your specific situation. Same thing with something like this. I'm going to put this in the chat. Let me just run this as well. Planning your workflow is really good as well if you want high level help with your workflow. So I'm using a model here called Crisp DM. It's been around for a while. It's a little arguably dated, but I think it still helps us plan our analysis. It is a methodology specifically for data mining, but it really helps us kind of understand step by step, right? I'm a data analyst. I want to optimize inventory levels. Can you help me understand the potential impacts, right? And then we go through each of these prompts. So what I could probably do is actually run each of these at a time. Okay, help me understand the potential impacts and just get that high level so we really know what our goal is and what our workflow should be before we get too hung up on the technicalities of how we're going to do this in Excel or whatever your tool of choice would be. I'm assuming Excel because this was written for Excel users. Okay, so right, all sorts of steps here, all sorts of things we could get help with, and then go through all of these tasks, right, with a specific problem. What kind of data should I use? Give me a checklist. This is really useful too. It's really easy as analysts to kind of forget steps and not consider everything. And again, you want to combine this with your human knowledge and your knowledge of the data. But I know when I've been analyzing data, it's really easy to just forget things. So this is a really nice kind of sanity check for you, right? Generate a checklist for cleaning sales data. How should I do this? And I could even ask, how would I do this in Excel? And be specific. How would I complete these steps in Excel? So the more specific you are, obviously, in general, the better results you're going to get. It's just like getting help from a human, right? The more specific you are about what you're trying to do, the better results you're probably going to get. And we get nice step-by-step results here for working with missing values, working with blank values, and so on and so forth. Okay. Hopefully this is making sense so far. we could go on and on with this. 5 whys works really well with this as well. You may probably are familiar with that. If I were to ask a prompt, for example, let me copy and paste here. Okay. Ooh. Okay, I didn't want that twice. I'm a data analyst in a manufacturing company facing frequent equipment failures. List common reasons for equipment failures. So again, not just this is really helping you go from just saying that something happened to really understanding why something happened. And the data doesn't often do that, right? Sometimes we don't have the data just because something was off budget or something took long or something broke. That doesn't really explain why. And sometimes we really need to be more of like detectives than just data analysts to figure that out. So this could really help you lead you in the right direction. Okay. Because the data can only tell you what is in the data, right? It's a little bit of a tautology there. But this could really help, right? Suggest practical, provide some questions I could use to delve deeper. So when you are, working with that business, so this doesn't even really have to do anything with Excel, but the more that you can think through these problems and really understand your data, the less time and the less monkey business you're going to have to deal with in Excel with bad data or models that don't make sense or models that don't calculate the way that they should or things like that. So I think Abraham Lincoln said something like, if you gave him 8 hours to chop down a tree, he would spend the first 6 sharpening his axe or something like that. So this is kind of like the equivalent of that, right? You want to sharpen your axe before you even get into Excel. You can use ChatGPT to help you with all sorts of different tasks. Okay. And again, the nice thing here is that, none of this is particularly unique to any organization. It's kind of an industry-wide set of questions and circumstances. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. I see a couple people coming in and out of the meeting, so let me kind of reset the room and put the course downloads in here again. Okay, so that's just in the chat if you need it. We also are recording, so you're welcome to take a look at that as well. All right, so now that we have looked at getting our data in the right shape in the first place, generating fake data if we don't want to share something sensitive, framing our problem so that we know what data we even need and what our goal even is in the first place, now we can move on to the last mile, which is debugging formulas, getting help with what visualization to use, and so on and so forth. So that's what we're going to move on to next year. So we will move back into Excel here. Okay, just take a moment here to shuffle stuff around. And let's go back to the workbook here. We're going to go into the debug worksheet. Okay. So I've got a worksheet here. It is in a table. I would definitely, again, like I said, encourage you to put your data into a table. Okay, so we have a formula here. What we're trying to do is rank our data by region. Okay, maybe you inherited this workbook or you tried to build this yourself or you got it off a message board or something. Okay, so what we're dealing with here is I'm going to sort this data. It looks like this is working. If I go to the custom sort here, let's actually sort this by region and then sales. So, it's always good just to cross-check your work here. Okay. All right. So it looks like what we're seeing here is this thing is not set up the way we would want it, right? The highest ranking region should be rank 1, okay, or the highest ranking sales value for this region. It should not be the lowest. It should be number 1. Okay, so what we're going to do here is get ChatGPT's help with something like that. Now, what I would suggest you do in this case is know the name of your table, know the name of your columns, and what might even be good here is make this as easy to copy and paste in and out as possible. So it's super clear to ChatGPT what these columns are named. And a good way to do that is to use a naming convention like this. This is called snake case, if you've ever seen this in like Python code. So everything's lowercase, everything's enclosed in underscores. And this formula is going to be kind of hard to miss for ChatGPT. So if I come back here, let's, okay, open that up. We're going to try to get some formula help and really understand why this formula isn't working right. The other thing I would encourage you, I don't think it matters in this case, but I would always say, know the name of your table. So if I go to my name manager, okay, so it looks like this table is called sales. Okay, so that's right there. Okay, so I'm going to be as specific as possible in case ChatGPT wants to name the table and the formula it gives us. We want to make this as easy to copy and paste in and out as possible. So I'm going to say something like, my table, I have an Excel table named sales. Okay, I have a formula called rank by region using the below formula. How can I reverse the rank so that the row with the highest sales in the region is rank number 1, right? Okay, I'll copy and paste that. I'm gonna put this in the chat here. Let me paste this in here. Okay. So it's going to explain what we need to do. And it looks like in this case, all we needed to do was just change a direction sign. Okay. The more specific, again, we are making these names, right? Typing these in identical. So when I said, rank by region, okay, let me open that up again. I'm trying to make everything verbatim here so that it's super clear to ChatGPT what my columns are named, so that the goal is I should just be able to copy and paste this. Okay, now that didn't like something. It looks like in this case, let's say I'm getting name errors, right? We can come back here and see what the issue is. Okay, I think I kind of see it myself, but we could, if you're not seeing it yet, to never be afraid to call it out if something isn't working, but don't just say like it doesn't work, right? I'm sure we've all dealt with junior analysts where that tends to be kind of where they end and begin things by saying, well, it doesn't work, I'm done. We want to take this a little bit further than that. Okay, so we'll try this one. I'm still not confident that this is going to work. Okay, and let's paste this in there. Okay, okay, that looks like it gave us a rank, but it's not the rank that we wanted. So I'm going to spare some time. And again, this is why it's a Copilot or, ChatGPT. In this case, it's you always want to keep that human in the loop, like we talked about. So if it says all we need to do is reverse the sign, okay, let's take that literally. And I'm just going to take my formula that I had before and let's reverse that sign here. Okay. So the thing about demonstrating AI tools is you never know what exactly is going to happen. Okay, so try to read between the lines when you need to. And now it looks like this thing is ranking correctly as we would want. Okay, so the more specific you are, the more likely you are to get exactly what you want. So, for example, if I wanted to say something like, let's go back there. Um, my table is called sales. How would I write a formula that finds the average of the sales column where the region column is equal to north? All right. So I'm saying, the name of sales, I'm saying the name of the columns. I'm trying to be as verbatim as possible. And the more specific you are, the more likely you should just be able to copy and paste this thing in. You may even, if you wanted to, if this is not sensitive data, or if you want to mock up some data, copy and paste like the first few rows of the data set, right? You could even say something like, let me go back there. Apologies, it's a little pokey. Let's go back. Do. Sorry, everybody. Let's go back there. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Yep, we're going back. Okay. All right, my table. I have a table in Excel called sales. That looks like this. I just copy and paste that right in there, and then ask your question. So again, Excel or ChatGPT knows exactly what your data looks like. The more information you can provide that's germane to your specific example, the less likely you're going to get something that says like table one or column one or something, and then you'll have to go in and adjust the column names and stuff like that. Right? Be precise as possible, and you'll get better help with debugging. Okay, so that's all we'll say for debugging. We're going to do one more thing here on getting data visualization guidance here. And then that will be it for today. So hopefully this has been useful. Haven't seen a lot of questions. That's okay. As long as you're getting something out of this, I'm happy to share. And let's move on to our last example. Getting some basic help with data visualization. This is going to be a smaller data set here, and this is public data, so no worries, just copying and pasting this. So the issue with using ChatGPT for data visualization, at least the free version, again, is it doesn't have access to Excel. So you're going to need to use some workarounds here. Let me open up a new session here. Okay, just a little slow. Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay. That's good. Okay. How would I visualize total? Let's say, how would I visualize? Well, let me put the data set in there. That's really what we want. Now, usually when we're charting stuff in Excel, it doesn't matter as much, like what the table is named and things like that. How would I visualize population by city with this data set? Data set in Excel. What chart options should I consider, or what are the pros and cons of each? So rather than just asking, step by step, how would I do something? This is really a chance for you, again, with visualization, it's easy to just kind of use whatever Excel spits out. Okay. But what we can do here is really get some more insights, right? We can use a bar chart, we can use a pie chart. I probably wouldn't suggest the pie chart, but if you can make a case for it, scatter plot if we wanted to compare population with area. So again, just because you think you want to do something X way, you don't want to just take that for granted, right? Maybe that's not even the right question. So I think ChatGPT is really good at making you kind of second guess if the question that you're like obsessing over getting right in Excel is even the right question to ask. Okay. So what's really cool here is if I were to actually insert one of these visuals, okay, and I'll take a second to do that. Let's insert a recommended chart. Okay, so this says it is sum of population by state. I don't really like that one. Let's say, okay, this looks like it is showing us the population by city. Okay, so I'll go ahead and insert that. Okay. Now, I'm not loving this chart. Okay, so what we could do is ask ChatGPT. Let's come back here. Now we can't upload images. So what you can do is, let's come back here. Sorry, things are getting a little pokey. But if I wanted to, paste this in, now that one didn't work, unable to upload. Let's try to save this again. I'm going to try to save this manually. Okay, let's save as picture. Okay, and that's fine. If I don't get this to work, you can definitely try it out on your own. This works really well with paid versions as well. Of course, with the paid version, you can actually, get it to kind of interact with Excel to a greater extent. But what we're trying to do here is, and this would work really well, if you had like a PowerPoint deck that somebody gave you, you want some different options, you can use the image feature to give ChatGPT that image and ask, what are some ways that I could maybe improve on this chart. Okay, so let's copy and paste that. Okay, it's not liking that. I thought we could upload an image, but if that's not the case, that's okay. Ask in general, what are some ways to improve a bar chart in Excel? Improve the default bar chart. Right, so you're really trying to use this as just a sounding board, right? Adding labels, because usually Excel isn't going to do that off the bat. Use customized bar colors, right? So again, thinking about using color effectively to maybe really emphasize the high values or the low values, or to maybe color code by specific criteria or something like that. Adding a title, some often Excel doesn't give like the best titles, so you could even ask, what would be a good chart title? Chart title for my bar chart showing population by city or something like that. And again, copy and paste that data if it's not sensitive. Lots of different options for adding a chart title. Right, so here are some ones. Maybe these are just describing it. Maybe you want something more actionable, right, to deliver an insight or something like that. That's another way of thinking about the title. You could continue iterating here and getting that help. But again, it's not going to do it for you. We are in a free version, but can definitely kind of get you to think twice about the data that you have. If you do have a chart that you've already built, either uploading that image directly, which I thought you could do in the free version, or just describing it, and you can definitely get some good help with that. So a lot of different use cases that we've covered in just an hour. I'm sure there are many, many more. If you have specific use cases that you would like to share, you are more than welcome to do so in the remaining time that we have. But let me kind of close up here. Apologies for the kind of pokey computer. I think what happens is I was on Zoom earlier, and I feel like when you switch between these video sharing tools, sometimes your computer gets really bogged down. So anyway, let me share the feedback form and the events. This will all go out in an email as well, so you can check your email for that. But thank you so much for taking a little bit of time out of your day. I hope that you found this useful. To that end, what I usually ask for is just your review, if you could. I'm trying to pull it up right now. I'm having a little bit of trouble, but I don't ask for any money with these. You're not gonna get hit up to, join my leadership academy or anything like that. These are 100% free, and I don't really ask for a tip or anything. So, if you could leave me some feedback, that would be really, really gratefully appreciated. Just to help me, this really helps me, just like any business really uses reviews to market their business. This is how I market my business. If you are looking for somebody to help you on a professional basis, then I'm open to that as well. But if that's not in your capacity right now, that's fine too. Events coming up are right here. So I've got a bunch of events coming up on a variety of topics. having to do with Excel, having to do with AI, Python, and modern data analytics at Excel, as it were. We're going to be talking about DAX. We're going to be talking about more AI topics, Python, getting into Power Platform, all sorts of good stuff coming up. So you're welcome to attend any of these that you want. Vast majority are recorded, and will go out like this one will over email in a bit. So thanks everybody so much for tuning in. Hopefully this was a good little tour of ChatGPT. If there are any questions, I'm going to stop recording in a second. Happy to take anything before we sign off, but have a great rest of your day, if not.